everybody, Jeff here, and welcome to Bourbon Over Baseball. We've got a pretty fun episode for you today. We're actually going to be breaking down another one of the divisions in our 2020 custom set league. So going to be going through I'll actually say the division name later just because I want to talk about it a little bit. But really psyched to have, I think maybe a new guest has been on, definitely a fan of the pod, but we've talked about him often. And really psyched to bring him on to talk about the division he'll be a part of. So we've got Greg here, also known as Win Dance Repeat. So what's up, man?
Not much. Thanks for having me. Yeah, this is my first time on the actual pod being a guest. Frequent listen.
That's actually mind-blowing, to be honest, because we have talked about your teams and your strategies and everything like consistently for, I would say, well over a year at this point. So long overdue.
Yeah, especially since the first time I submitted a team was the 2018 league, and you guys just killed it. Like you were like, this guy's got no power, he sucks. And I mean, now that I've played a league, I mean, the strategy works, but dude, I mean, you got to be able to execute it.
Well, so I should catch everybody up on this. You know, we had our 2001 National League only league with National League rules, and Greg went, had a kind of a wild team that I believed in, but not everybody else did. And Win Dance Repeat won the World Series in that league. So it worked. It ended up working out. And, I guess any thoughts on that, that whole process and everything?
I mean, that was a blast. I mean, I had never done a league only for any of the years. It was a ton of fun. And I mean, you kept score, Jeff, and that was literally the best, World Series, like best 5-game series I've ever played and been a part of. I mean, it was just unbelievable.
Yeah, it was without question some of the greatest showdown games I've just ever seen. Not even, just watched happen. I mean, if anybody hasn't listened to it, we did a postseason breakdown, and I think it's worth listening at least for the 16 inning, I believe, game 3. Game two, that is without question the greatest showdown game I've ever seen, and just unbelievable performances by multiple people, and I still can't believe that game happened.
Unbelievable.
And
we're not here to talk about that one.
No, I have to bring this story up though, because I feel like it needs to be shared because it's so incredible and it made me happy. So your team wins the World Series, and to be clear, we're talking about a team of baseball cards, right? With stats on them.
Yep.
And you, in actuality, in real life, went to Disney World about a week or two after you won the World Series.
Yes, a week after.
And you
celebrate.
Yeah, well, you were already, like, I guess we can leave it up to the listener if you were already going or if you decided to go based on the World Series. But in any case, you brought some of your winning cards with you.
Yes, I did.
And I guess, what did you do with those cards, Greg?
Each card, depending on their performance, got to go to a different park on different days, and they got to go on a couple different rides. But it was all based on their postseason performance. So we let Tom Gordon take some time off, so he didn't make the trip. But we brought 3 of our starting pitchers. They got to go on some roller coasters, and then we brought a couple of our good bats in the lineup, and they enjoyed going to the Magic Kingdom and Epcot. But we were trying to pay a little tribute. I know Matt had just done the backyard baseball cards for some of the guys on here, so we were trying to bring back the Wally. I know they based it off of Wally World from Vacation, this movie series, but it was Weasel World, I think it was. Yeah. From backyard baseball and backyard football, and that was an homage to that.
Oh man, I just imagine, for everybody listening, imagine getting a picture of Mark Kotze's card in front of Splash Mountain. I think Mark Kotze had a great trip. Tom Gordon, again, he chilled, but I know he was well-deserved rest. I know that Masato Yoshi and Greg Swindell definitely did not get some of the higher, tier experiences because their performances almost lost you the World Series.
Yes. Those guys actually played well in the postseason after having horrific
that's true.
in season performances. But no, you're right. It was a some of those guys, they got on some good rides. I know a couple of the guys really enjoyed the Haunted Mansion. Yoshi and Tapani just kept riding Dumbo. I think they were on it 7 different times. Very odd couple there, but they really enjoyed one another's company.
Dude, do what makes you happy when you're at Disney World. And
then Al Leiter, he just said, I want to hang out on Winnie the Pooh and 7 Dwarves. So I just said, dude, just have a day.
That's fine. We'll leave you to it. Enjoy it. So anyway, just definitely one of my favorite things that I've ever seen, since I got back into Showdown years ago. So thank you for that. So anyway, we could probably talk anecdotally about everything involving that league for the rest of this time. So let's talk about this. Let's talk about the team breakdown. So we're talking about the division is the auto runner on second division. So I had to do something cheeky with these division names, and I feel like I haven't gotten enough credit on those, sort of 3 divisions.
They're great. I mean, I don't know how this is not funny. I mean, cardboard cutouts, poking fun at no fans last year, auto runner on second. I love this division because it originally had three of the 4 playoff teams from the 01 league. Yep. And you're comparing us to a softball league. I mean, just the complete disrespect for the 3 playoff teams. I mean, I don't count Bob in there, but I mean, it's just unbelievable.
No, I mean, in 2 thoughts there. I mean, I definitely did all these divisions randomly, and nobody thought I did, but I did, but nobody believes me. Everybody hates the commissioner. So, and then the second part is that, I guess the auto runner on second, there's nothing that made me, I think, more angry about 2020, rule changes than an earned or no earned runs, but a loss for the pitchers that got that guy home. So maybe, divisions were random. Maybe the division names you were in weren't random. I like that take. But yeah, so we've got and then the other division, I should say, I'm in the cardboard cutouts. We got auto runner on second, and then the last one we're going to cover is the 7-inning doubleheader, because there's no better way to ruin statistics than a 7-inning doubleheader.
So, you know what though? I don't mind that, because even during a 162 game series, I know we're getting off a Showdown. I don't mind that, because very rarely do you ever play an actual doubleheader. And in the end of in the long game, does it really impact if you play 2 7-inning games in 162?
No, I'm with you. I think that's the one I actually don't mind as much.
I hate the auto runner on second. I hate it in softball too.
Yeah, no, I definitely. The one rule my wife played in is that, and I actually kind of like this rule, is that if you got walked, you got to go to second instead of first. Hey, if we ever wanted to blow up the Bob rules we use in our own custom house rules, we talk about how walks are basically half a single. Let's make them just automatic doubles. I think that would change the rules pretty quickly, or change people's tendencies for drafting. So
that would change it. And then the other rule that MLB put in last year, you have to pitch to 3 batters.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that would really,
right.
That would really impact Showdown significantly.
Ooh. I've literally got a notes file on my computer of just thoughts for future rules, and I'm definitely adding those 2 in after this podcast. So, but yeah, we're going to go into the auto runner on second division. It was I think even before we drafted, I would say considered a loaded division, just because we knew the players in it were, proven, right, in a lot of ways. So let me get out of this picture right here, and let's go to Win Dance Repeat. Let's take a look at your team. Do you want to just I guess give us a quick summary on what you were looking to do, how the draft went, and what you ended up with?
Yeah. So overall, I was happy. I wasn't thrilled, but I was happy with what I got. I know we've talked a little bit just one-on-one, a couple mistakes that I think I made, but overall I was pretty happy. I wanted to get a catcher, a cheap catcher with a good arm. I thought I got that, +7 arm, under 200 points.
100%. Yep.
I try to build it a lot like my 01 National League team, because that's just how I build in general. And I always have had a lot of success doing it that way. With extra base rules, I have a +7 outfield again, which I think is a very important piece.
No, it's great. It's we beat a dead horse that infield doesn't matter as much, but the outfield, and especially in a league with less variable defense, because it's literally just speed speed A, speed B, speed C. I think that matter. I think having 7 matters much more than it probably did in our variable speed with the custom sets having, you could be 17 speed or 21 speed or 13 speed.
Yes. So that was one of my targets, was I wanted to get +7. I mean, it sounds crazy, but the catcher was my top catching target. So I was happy about that. I know Matt poked fun of it when you guys did the draft recap, but Adam Wainwright was my number 1 target. Though I will say, because I did listen, if Plesac was available, I would have taken him. I would have taken him.
I didn't know that.
I missed him by 1 round. Just because, I mean, it would have been, he's a 5 control, 16 out, but he would have only threw 6. So he's basically Adam Wainwright, but you get the extra control for 6 innings.
Yeah. And I should almost mention, like, we've talked about the way your teams, and like Matt and I joke about it, like offline, like your teams are usually the shining example of balance, kind of never like excessive at one position or one thing or one player. And I do think that's exactly what this team is it is extraordinarily balanced. Your first pick was, like, think about it. It could have been Plesac. You probably would have done that, but getting Wainwright, not 500 plus point starter. Second pick was Kana, right?
Yeah.
400 points. And I mean, your best batters are tied for 430, which I actually hadn't seen your Alex Bohm pick, and I dig it. I mean, I think, and it's funny, you also mentioned to me offline that you were not into the Xander pick. Because I was bringing up a lot of guys I just regret picking. And I kind of, now looking at it, believe that your team needs Xander, because there's a lot of high on base, potentially not a lot of power. And I feel like Xander is like kind of what you need in that position.
Yeah. So I do like that. He is my favorite player. For the guys that know me, I have a thing for Boston shortstops. Always have. Big farm system guy too. So I've loved Xander his whole career, was a big Nomar fan growing up. And, I wanted to play with a card that I like, from a player that I like. So that's honestly what I took him. I almost drafted a Nick Ahmed from the Diamondbacks, which would have saved me 120 points. Mm-hmm. But, the more I thought about it, I just thought, where else would I put that? And, that's the only thing I probably would have switched. Instead of drafting Asher, if I shifted some points around, I probably could have gotten, made a push for maybe Merrill Kelly as an ace. But I, decided to go for more depth in my bullpen and play with a card that I want to play with.
I think it'll be interesting, because I think that your lineup is the biggest question mark to me. Because I see a lot of similarities to teams that I fielded in the past that are just, average on base is very high, but the power is just not there. And, just a lot of singles, a lot of walks. You've got there's a lot of walk ranges with your guys. Mm-hmm. So I guess that's the biggest thing I'm scared. I want to stick in the lineup, because then I want to make a comment on the starters, but what is your starting lineup if you were doing it right now? You're playing tonight, I guess. So
yeah,
probably thinking about it.
Mark Count is going to lead off. We'll back Paul Goldschmidt second. Alex Bohm batting third. Then we'll go with Urshela batting 4, Bogarts batting 5, Madrigal batting 6, Blackman 7, Laureano 8, and then Caratini 9.
I really like that lineup, truthfully. I mean, the first 3 are actually, that whole thing I would do exactly the same. I think your first 3 still being, I love kind of leading off and then having 2 solid 10s, not insane, but solid 10s. I think that matters. And it's worth mentioning the Goldschmidt's 1 through 4 out. I think 1 through 4 out, a lot of walks, but at 430-10, if you got 2 430 point 10s, which is on base 10s, which is pretty incredible. Usually everybody tries to just get one of those. If they like, I'd rather have any of those guys than my Rendon pick, which I regret. So
I'm glad you took him, because I almost pulled the trigger on him instead of Urshela, and I'm glad I saved the 90 points.
Yeah, I mentioned it. I have these gut feelings that Rendon's just gonna just tank.
So in the draft, I almost pulled the trigger the round before you took him. And I sat there thinking, I want to do it, but he reminds me too much of Jeff Kent, who underperformed terribly for me in 01.
Yeah, there were some crazy 01 cards. I mean, Todd Helton, Jeff Kent. We had a lot of great 01 cards that just did not show up. And I think and that's why looking back, I would have done a lot of things differently with my draft, but it is what it is and we're moving. But I think we're all nervous about those supposedly great cards that are just going to perform like a 200-point card, because it's going to happen.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, overall, I was happy. If I admit, looking back, I wish I hesitated to draft. I know you did too, Jason Hayward. Wish I would have done that.
Such a good pick. And I kick myself for not doing that one.
That or Alex Verdugo instead of Blackman. Those were two guys that I was targeting, but I like the Jeff McNeil card, but I didn't pick him because I wanted the +7. I had the money to do it, but I wanted the +7 outfield. I mean, you're at least you have a chance to throw out a speed B scoring from second.
And it's fun. I'm glad you brought up Jeff McNeil, because that was a wild thing, because we were all talking about Jeff McNeil prior to the draft, and Jeff McNeil did not get drafted.
He's a 1-3 out, 9 on base, good walk range. I mean, I think he gets a single on 9,
right?
And
crazy utility guy. Yeah.
But I mean, to that point, I didn't like the speed C. I didn't like just the +1 in the outfield, so switched it up a little bit. And so Charlie Blackman is my Marcotte, is the way I look at it.
Charlie Blackman is great. He's been so great with me in the past. I love the pick. So I want to quickly mention starting, and that's something I have to mention with your teams and what you've done in the past. We talk about often how the thoughts, kind of the strategies around pitchers that give up a home run have changed, and a lot of that is because of honestly because of Greg, and because of the team that he fielded in that 01 league. He had you had 3 of your 4 give up home runs, and some of them, like, they didn't do well, but a lot of times they were not doing well, not because of the home run on the chart, but because they just were doing badly. And I think kind of seeing the final results changed all of our minds. And now we went from your team was pretty much the only one of 2, I would say, that had consistent home run, pitchers giving up home runs on their chart. Now I think out of the 12 teams, I think 4 or 5 have pitchers with home runs on them, my team included.
Well,
so
I mean, my third pick was John Lester, and that's because Walker Buehler and Blake Snell were both already taken, and those were my 3rd round targets.
Right. And like we talked about Garrett Cole, like that card's amazing for what it is. If first round pick, cannot believe, and we'll get to that, cannot believe he went that early. But I love the strategy. I mean, I love the Lester pick. I really I think I actually like your rotation. I think everything's going to be fine there. Funny critique on the relievers, and let me know what you think here. I believe you might have spent too much on your bullpen.
I probably did. To be honest, the way that I'm looking at all my starters is we've talked about it before, you play to win. And if I get into any trouble come the 6th inning with anybody in the game, even the 5th, I'm going to the bullpen, and I'm going to go early.
100%.
So you're right. I think I did. And I told you, going back, if I could have done the Asher pick a little bit different, I would have cashed that. I would have not taken Zimmer and Chavez. So I would have saved 230 points. I could have put 240 towards, and I had Presley. So I could have had 390 towards his starter. And I went back and forth between Ryan Yarbrough and adding depth to the bullpen. And I just decided, if I'm going to try to take 1 or 2 games from Asher pitching, and then really lock down the 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th, because the way I'm looking at it, I can go Zimmer 1 inning, then at the bottom of the lineup, I can go Presley, and then I can go at the top of the lineup, Hoyt, and then I can lock it down with Pomeranz.
Yeah, I think you're fine. I mean, I think it's one of those things that if you're going to accidentally, or not accidentally, but if you're going to just spend too much money on a bullpen versus starters, I think the bullpen's the right way to go, just given the flexibility. Because if your starters, like you said, if they just start tanking, it's like, okay, we're done, bye. And like you have the bullpen to back you up.
Yeah,
And I
I
think,
mean, I spent 1,000 points on the bullpen, which I do think is probably
yeah,
about 200 more than I would have wanted. But
yeah, I think, shit, what did I spend? But yeah, that's going to be, it's really just your team is going to depend. Like, I think your starters can tank, even though you hope they don't because you spent money there. You have the bullpen to back it up, but it's really just going to be a question of can your lineup put together runs, and your the way you play, is all about play to win, and you play to get runs, and you manufacture runs. You manufacture runs in the way Showdown allows you to, which has been, kind of amazing to see. And I think that's a big reason why you won the World Series last year. So I think you're going to make it work. I think it's just really going to be the big question mark is scoring runs, and if your starters exceed expectations, then I think you could potentially lock down this division early. So
yeah, if the starters can carry the weight, we'll be in really good shape. And I think I agree with you. I think some of the some of those guys in the lineup, just speaking in generalities, there's a lot of bad walk ranges in this set. I mean, you look at Christian Yelich's card in it. I mean, he's a 4 through 14 walk or a 5 through 14 walk.
That's my dream. I don't know how I didn't get it. I didn't pick him,
But
oh man.
I mean, like we're looking at this, and I know Goldschmidt's a 5 through 11 compared to a lot of the set. That's actually not bad. Like,
no, and I think it's okay for like Kana to have 5 through 12 because he's speed A, he gets on base, and I think one thing I didn't mention that I think is important is the catcher +7. I need to stress to everybody that there might not be anybody above a +7 arm.
There's one. There's two. There's 2 +9s in Grandal and Molina.
And then you've got +14 Roberto Perez, which is out of this world. But generally, on average, pretty bad catcher defense here. And so I think like locking that down, that he can hit kind of okay for 170. I deceivingly just love that pick. Kind of was not paying it, that and Alex Baum. So I think, I'm trying to I want to see what if you had to give it a grade, and you've kind of seen our grading in the past, and how also awful it is. Like, what would you self-critique your team as a grade?
I'd probably say overall a B to a B-.
I was leaning B, so I think solid B sounds good to me.
I think the bullpen looks like an A- to an A, probably closer to an A. But the lineup, I like the outfield. The infield, I'd probably give more that C. So I think it just balances out and whatnot. So
right, at the end of the day, we're talking 5,000 point teams that like we're all working through. So like there's really, and what we've seen in the last, I think the last, which the cardboard cutouts breakdown we did, like the range went, it was the best was A- and the worst was B-. Like it's really, we're talking little variation here. Like only in the past have I think we've given one team like a D, and then I think they did really well. So what did we know? But anyway, yeah, we'll go with the B on this. I think it's gonna be interesting looking at the other teams and seeing where you shake out in the division. But yeah, that's all great. So let's move on to the next team, which is the Hundred Thieves. So this is the team that we had someone pick, unfortunately had to drop out of the league pretty suddenly, but we were able to get someone filled in pretty quickly. So I think as of right now, the team is staying as is. Might be entertaining some swaps potentially just to make their team feel a little bit more to them. But especially given that they're helping us out, and mostly just Greg and I aren't going to have to play out the game. So, but I mean, this team is pretty cool. I like a lot of this team. So this was the team we talked about in the draft podcast. Garrett Cole, first round pick. It kind of surprises me, but I guess it's not a surprise. It seems like nobody was surprised except for me. It sounds like he wasn't going to escape the first round. So that's why he got picked at 7th, which is just wild. If you see how many pitchers and how many bats and how many everything are in this set, that he went number 7. But there's also a lot of balance here. I mean, it just, and I think he's a top heavy in, batting, starting, and the relief staff. And I think in the right way, though. I think the biggest issue here is no on-base 10s, but I do love the Trout card. I mean, that's a pretty solid leadoff. So yeah, Greg, what do you think?
Yeah, the pick that I was mad that he took him because I was going to draft him was the Tapia pick. I mean, I think that's a phenomenal card. Speed A +2, 340, 9 on. I mean, I know he doesn't hit, but I mean, what else do you want from a leadoff guy? I mean,
that's true.
It's a prototype leadoff guy. I'd mentioned Verdugo was one of my picks too. I think that's a very solid card. To be honest, I know he took Trout in the second round. I actually think Trout went higher than I would have had him. I mean, I know he's a 16 through 20, but 520 points. I don't know. I think that he's going to mash some, but what we also learned in the 01 league is everybody picks high control pitchers. Mm-hmm. So, when you get, you look at all of the bullpens and they're all 4+. So I don't know. I think that when you pay a lot for a bat like that, it's feast or famine. So, I mean, hopefully for this team, it'll work out for the Thieves. But, time will tell on that.
Yeah, and his team, and the one thing that's a great point. Like Tapia is like leading off, Trout probably second, Verdugo third, and that's a maybe Dominic's. I mean, Dom Smith is the power on this team, and honestly, the only I guess that and Seager are the only legitimate power threats here. But his team is fast, which we've talked about in the rules that we set up that speed matters, especially that he has. I mean, he has legit. If you would have looked in any of our rules, any of our leagues with variable speed, like just not the 10, 15, 20. If you could have 5 guys on your team at 20 exactly, like you would have been drooling, and he has that. And his average speed is solidly, probably 16 or 17. So I think this is going to be another situation of hopefully figuring out ways to manufacture runs and get people scoring from second often automatically without throws. I know
that was his strategy when he drafted was he wants to get guys on second and score. And then even on the double, score from first. So.
I think that can happen. I do like this is like probably closer to maybe this is like more the lineup I wish I had gone solidly with. Like I got a lot of on base 10s, but like I regret not getting kind of more of the power. Like I was close to picking Trout. If Freddie Freeman wasn't available at my pick, I think I was going to take Trey Turner, but Trout was on that pick or was on that list because I was ready to just get, Trout is my number one. And then, some Marcell Ozuna is backing him up, Mm-hmm. And then the starting, like I said, Cole, Carrasco, Perez, Cueto. I actually like all those cards. I love the Perez and Cueto card, especially Cueto for 180. I mean, that seems like a pretty solid value, especially with the walk heavy and then solid.
He has a great rotation. He really does. And it's, just comparing his team to his 01 team, he went very high control based, and he had 2 guys that were 6'14s in that league, and I think he tried to balance it out a lot more this time, trying to get that fit. I mean, it's amazing how many times that one extra out mattered for his team.
That's true. So all in all, what do you think in terms of grade here?
I'd probably give the lineup a B+, rotation an A. And, looking at the bullpen, you got a lot of 416 guys. I mean, Nick Vincent's a freaking steal. Yeah, 416. I mean,
so good.
20 points.
That's why he won the 5th round, right?
Yeah. I'd probably give him an A-.
Yeah, I was thinking B+, A-. I probably lean towards A- because I look at this team and I'm like, I would rather have this team than my team. So I think that's pretty telling. So I think like we'll look at the other two, see how we think it shakes out. But I think this is a solid contending team. I think the crew, the 100 Thieves crew, is just inheriting this team, is in a good spot. We probably shouldn't allow swaps because this team is already pretty freaking scary. So,
yes.
So, all right. So let's get down to the third team here, which is the Raleigh Fingers. So
your alter ego.
Yeah, this is my alternate team. To catch everybody up, it's a joke that I am also Kevin, and I've been running 2 or 3 teams at the same time, just through different personalities, which is definitely true. Let's just go with that. But in any case, this is our buddy Kevin. I went to grade school with him. He's part of the reason I got back in the Showdown committee. He's been in all of our leagues pretty much, and he was too cool for school to draft his team. He decided to do actual physical activity instead of drafting strategy or baseball cards with stats on them. I mean, get your priorities straight, dude. But the good news, the silver lining of that is that he did tag in a buddy that I went to high school with to draft his team, which we have been working on him to get him into the game and into the Showdown world and back. He's definitely into it. He has the cards. I'll tell this quick story that at my one of my best friend's house, like, he has a pool table and everybody was just drinking and hanging out. And then Kevin and Nick show up. I'm already there, and they show up with a lunchbox full of Showdown cards, and we just stopped people from playing pool to play Showdown on the pool table. And I could tell my good buddy whose house we were at was like kind of pissed off that we just kind of hijacked this party to play Showdown. But I mean, come on, like, we had to do it. So he's already in the Showdown world. He gets what we're going. And I can actually confirm that as of an hour ago, he sent me a receipt of his Steam receipt for buying Tabletop Simulator. So we have another convert. So, applause for Nick. And he's going to be in with us now. He's going to join the craziness. So Kevin, again, too cool for school to draft his team, did stress how much he had some color-coded draft tiers in terms of what he wanted. And he claimed he did the most prep he's ever done for any Showdown league, which, that's great, but didn't show up. And I'm clearly coming from a biased view, but no, but joking aside, he gave Nick a lot of prep. And I think there's some stuff here I'm worried about, but I think Nick crushed it. And Kevin and I texted about it, and I think Nick crushed it. I think he went on a limb on some picks, and I'm totally okay with what he did on going out on a limb. Quin Quantrell, second overall or second round pick. I love it. I freaking love it. I was ready to take him. I was hoping he would drop to me. He did not. And I love the pick.
With the reliever rules in this league, that's going to be a big thing. And that's just like how, Kevin took Van Poppel in 01. I mean, same exact thing. He wants a guy that can eat some innings every game.
Right. And he took Bieber first round. Love the pick. Overall, I guess skipping the lineup for a second, and a lot of these were, kind of coming via Kevin, but the rotation is pretty good. I mean, he's got solid innings pitched, solid control. Of course, the last two guys, Glasnow and Javier, give up the home run. But I think he's in a solid place with these. I mean, those tier 3 guys for 280 and 260 is really, really good value.
So just so everybody knows too. So in the 01 league, Kevin had the first pick and I had the second one. So we drafted back to back. And in this draft, Kevin had 9, Bob had 10, and I had 11.
Yep.
And then Jeff had 12. And what I've learned is that Kevin and I draft very similarly.
Mm-hmm.
And in the 01 draft, I think I took 3 picks he was looking for the pick before. And I'm looking at his team, and I mean, it's the same thing. I mean, he took Cole Sulser right before I took him. I wanted Glasnow. He took him. And then I literally was about to hit Javier at the very end in the 16th round. I was going to take him as my 4th starter, and then Kevin took him right before it got to me.
Yep.
So
yeah, so all good things. I love the team he drafted. I think this is a fun team. I think the starting pitching is solid. I'm worried about 2 things. His lineup is very all over the place. It's somewhat extremely top heavy. I do like Marte. I like Witt. But and I've had guys like Witt do crazy for me. If an on-base ace can get the advantage and do damage, they do well. And I've seen it. But I think a lot of his team comes down to if those on-base eights, if Joey Wendell, Kyle Tucker, Starling Marte, and Whit Merrifield can show up. And I think the other part I'm probably more nervous about than that is the relief staff. Quantrell, right? Quantrell and Lorenzo, and I think we were texting a bit about it, and I think that's where he said like I made some mistakes towards the end. He did get Conforto. I should mention I missed that, but and I think that was where he said his mistake was that he would have dropped Conforto to get a better relief staff, but it's his relief staff is Quantrill or Lorenzo. I actually like the Givens. I've never said that or seen that name out before, or the Michael Givens, but I love that card. But man, if Quantrill or Lorenzo get blasted in any given game,
Lorenzen.
Sorry, holy smokes. If they get blasted, there's going to be massive troubles, and I don't know what Kevin does. You just hope that those 70.5, 50-point, and 10-point guys can do okay.
Yeah, and I think he'd made a point of this, and I know that it falls off a little bit, but this bullpen looks so similar to his 01 team. I mean, like we said that, and he had a great team. Like he did really well.
That's very true.
You're looking at it, and in that one he had one good reliever. Okay, there's Quantrill, and then you have Lorenzen. That's your middle guy, and he had
that's Van Poppel. That's basically Van Poppel.
Right.
Like actually, he had a better guy than that, I think.
Yeah, and then Givens, you have De Los Santos from the 01 set, and that's who he had. It was a 416, gave up a home run at 100 points.
Yep.
And he was not afraid to throw him in there. And the thing about Kevin is, if he does get down, he's got no problem leaving a starter in there to get blasted.
That's true.
Like, he's very smart about. He's got high control guys. So even if Javier or Glass now, or Bieber for that matter, if they get rocked one game, he'll throw them 7 or 8 because he doesn't care. He doesn't care about the run differential. He just cares about wins and losses. You play to win.
Right. And that's the rules we've set up. Like there's nothing to like blow Bieber up, like let his arm just go nuts. And I think like that's a great point about Givens because, and I actually think that like he used Valerio de los Santos often, and often he did pretty well. And so he had trust in those low point guys to actually take control of dire situations. And, he kind of snuck into the playoffs because Matt was trending down and Kevin was trending up and made the playoffs. So I think the biggest thing there though, is that I think that strategy worked for the rules we had set up for the 2001 the rules that we had there for whoever doesn't know is that if you pitch 2 straight games, no matter how many innings, you're out the third. Now same rule is the case, but we're implementing that in any given game, if you pitch above your set IP, you're out the next. So if Cal Quantrell, that's why the IP2 guys are so important. Because if Quantrill goes 2 innings, he's fine the next game, right? If he pitches the next, he's out the third, but totally okay. But if he goes 3, he's immediately out the next game. And I think he needs his starters to go their set IP. I think for him to be in a solid spot.
I think he needs him to go, honestly, 7 in some cases. Like
exactly.
And that Bieber to go 7 or 8, and he's going to need Sixto to go a couple. I'll be interested if he throws Sixto as his 3-man.
That's true. That's going to be interesting because one thing we've seen, and Greg, you and I have been talking about this offline before we recorded. I did it kind of, is that you're seeing a lot of guys stagger the rotation with the new rules of, basically that you can pitch over your set IP, you're out the next. So what they do is they kind of match it up. So the lesser starters are tied up together with the better relievers on, let's say, the 2 and the 4 game. I'm kind of doing a similar thing, but my starters are all really bad. So it's kind of a negligible difference, but it's a preference of what I want to do. Like I have my 2 and 3 guys paired up with Jesse Hahn because he's super good and he's a control 6 and he shuts down. So I think he's going to do that too. I think Sanchez will be his 3 and he'll probably have Glass now as his 2, if I had to guess.
Yeah, that's what I think. There might be something that he does there. He might very well just keep Sanchez as the 2, but I don't know. Yeah. I give his rotation definitely an A.
Yep.
The other pick, I know we didn't talk about it, but the Nico Horner pick in the 8th round, plus 3, 7 on base, 90 points,
super good.
Speed B. That's one of the best deals that in the entire draft. I mean, phenomenal pick.
And this is a draft that you and I talked about how the formulas are in a good spot, and our buddies made these cards, and there's not the much value. It's really preferential value. It's just value based on what you think matters. But taking that into account, I think that Horner pick is actually great value, because I think you're right. I think like giving can't home run, but that card could be solidly 140 points and still be draftable, which is wild. So, and you can tell with the way he picked. I mean, he went Givens 5th round. He went, Horner went 8th round. I mean, and I actually love the Jose Abreu pick. I don't love the speed C, but I love that guy. I mean, another guy I wish I had on my team, but yeah, I think he went
Molina. He went Molina in the 4th round. I mean,
I know.
And that, I mean, you look at his top 6 rounds, he took 2 relievers with 2 innings pitched. And then even Seth Lugo, I know he's only 10 points, but that was his 10th round pick. So 3 of his top 10 picks were relievers that could pitch 2 innings.
Yeah. And I think that's like, I think a lot of he definitely went the value heavy. Like, I think that Kevin said, get these guys early, and then said, and then have some fun later in the draft. And that's when he was able to get Conforto, and, Wendell and Starling Marte. And I think he said he regretted some of those. I can't remember exactly which ones, but I feel the starting staff is great. The lineup is a huge question mark, and the relief staff is okay at best. I feel like this is probably trending towards a B- for me. What do you think?
Overall, as a squad, I would say B to B. Mm-hmm. I'm not. I look at it, and he's got some really good pieces. I'd probably give it closer to a B.
Yeah, I think you.
Go ahead.
I think I was going to say, I think you two matched up against each other is good of indication of that. And I think you guys would be, I think it would be some great games in different ways.
Yes. He manages his nuts off.
Yep.
I mean, he is a great in-game manager. And, we played twice in the regular season in 2001 and then 5 games in the World Series against each other. And the biggest run differential, there was 1 game that was 3 runs, 1 game that was 2 runs, and the other 5 were 1-run games. I mean, he's incredible.
Yeah, so. you both do, and that's why I promise it was random. I believe me, I'm an honest person. But my God, I freaking love that you guys are in the same division together. I love it. Like, you guys are going to play twice this year. Going to play 4 games. Like, it's. Oh, like those are the ones I'm trying to be hands off in terms of keeping stats, but man, I'm going to hop in and probably help with those ones because I'm actually looking forward to it. So I think it's probably trending towards a B. So we'll stick with the B here. And again, just like that, Nick was able to draft this team, kind of see our craziness, our fun craziness. And
he was good on there. We were glad to have him in there.
Oh, 100%. We're going to get him in the next league. I don't think he has a choice at this point. So, all right, so let's go to the last team here. This is the Judgment Day T800s. This is our buddy AJ. He was actually in our in-person leagues. He's new. He's a new TTS guy, which is super great. And I've played in various leagues with him in person, and so I was just really ready to get him in. So, and he's probably we all are freaks for baseball. He freaking loves baseball. It's like kind of endearing, like how much joy it brings him in his life. And I like kind of feed off on that. Like whenever I think and I think I'm a passionate person, whenever I think I like something, I look at how AJ likes baseball and then realize like, I don't know if I like Lego that much, So, so he rules. So I'm just glad he's in here. He always has bizarre teams and I love it. This is like he's always been a kind of tricky drafter. He subverts expectations, usually went value heavy in past drafts, and in this one he solidly 1-2 with DeGrom and Fried went huge heavy pitching. Yes. I mean, those 2 cards heavy. Those cards are great, are super great, and I think like all in all, like even just really quickly, and I'll let you talk more about it too. Like his pitching staff is pretty solid. It's just some weirdness and some just all over the placeness going on with his lineup. But yeah, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be hard to take advantage. I mean, he's got 3-6 controls. I mean, it looks a lot. You got to be able to manufacture runs against that. and really take advantage. I mean, when you have runners on base when you're playing against him, and then even with that, he's got Perez as his catcher.
Yep.
So you can have a high whip and still not be able to get guys to second.
Right. He got Perez in the 12th round, which, I mean, it's funny. I talk about the Perez card when we were, putting the cards together. And I'm not the card guy, but, this season, I was great kind of exposure to me to see the process and kind of just lay some, send some thoughts in there. My critique was that Perez should be more points. Right. And I can't believe he dropped to the 12th round. Because I think that even though he's still 160 is a lot, he's an on-base 5 and his chart is bad. AJ is basically never going to give up a steal this year. And I think that's pretty important. Even with a speed A, getting a single plus, which in our league turns into a 23 speed, do you want to try to steal at 10 or better? I mean, and Greg, you are probably one of the most aggressive stealing players I've seen. But that you're going to play against this team 4 times and have some trouble getting on second in your usual way.
Yeah, it's like going against Blanco in the 0-1 set. Like, you ain't going. I mean, you're not going to send a runner. So I mean, he's. I will say from a managerial standpoint, right off the bat, well, I guess I'm going to sack bunt a lot.
Yep.
To get and that'll be the interesting piece to see. How many times does he force a guy, and you only get 27 outs. So how many times will Perez force teams to do that? Will be very interesting.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, like it's tough to spend that much on that guy, but I think locking up one, I see guys overspend on infield defense for such a specific strategy. The nice thing about the Perez pick is he spent 160 on a specific strategy that he knows is going to happen. Like, you can't guarantee ground ball double plays are always going to happen. They do happen. And I've seen them happen against those players. And they're like, see, look what happened. I'm like, look, that was like, you just lost. Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
So that's why I actually like that strategy. And in looking at his lineup, I don't love Nelson Cruz. Like, I want to love a DH only. And I love DH onlys in the 2000 and 2001 sets, especially 2000, because they're so undervalued. But 520 for that, it's a standard great chart, but man, I wouldn't spend that. I wouldn't. I know it was a later pick. That was a 16th round. So it was right towards the end. I got to get a DH. And if that was the best pick, do it. But I think looking at the final package and everything he has, I don't know. I don't know what his lineup is.
I love the Yandy card. I love that card.
But that's the other side, is that I love the Yandy pick. And what if you were putting this lineup together, what do you do?
Well, I could not believe he took Javi in the 7th round. I mean, you just said it's very, trying to figure out where he went so pitching heavy, which, I mean, as we've learned, I mean, Showdown, obviously it comes down to the dice just don't care. Yeah. But I mean, pitching dominates, and he drafted that way. I mean, he took the best closer, tier 0 closer in his 3rd round, and he took 2 studs, both 6 controls with his first 2 picks. So he had to draft there, but Javi early, Yandy was great. Even, Mazzara in the 9th round. I mean, he took 2 guys right there in the top 10 that were a 6 and a 5 that aren't great defenders. I mean, they don't really do a whole lot.
Right. But that's a great point. I don't think that Javi and Mazzara, I'll say this just for Javi, because Mazzara is a little lower in points and more usable. I don't know if Javi gets drafted. Like, maybe he's an expensive pinch runner, but I don't think, like, and you're right, like, using that in the 7th round feels like a mistake.
I mean, and it'll be time. I mean, he doesn't have a very high infield, but plus, I mean, you don't really need it. I mean, if let's say you don't turn a double play, are they going to steal? Nope. So it doesn't hurt you. And that's what we've talked about on here. And you guys have talked in other podcasts. The infield defense is very overrated when you're not playing with strategy cards, when you're not, taking into specific speeds, when it's just the general CBA.
Yep.
As long as you're preventing that error, which is at the 10 or higher mark, I mean, it really doesn't hurt you that much for the number of times. And you look at his starters, it's not like, I mean, aside from Max, I mean, nobody has a crazy ground ball range. No. So he's going to prevent that too.
Yeah. And actually it's worth noting, like, he got his last pick. He had the Cole Tucker, he had 10 points left. And, I was like, speed B, like, what are you going to do? He actually has so many speed C's. So that actually he might actually use him as a pinch runner. So that's useful.
He's got 5. So, I mean, he's going to rely on Cruz's bat. And then, I love the Ty France card. Very good card. He was a target on my list too. And I mean, he took him in the 4th round. I think that's a good value pick. Doesn't have any ground balls on his own chart. Puts the ball in play on an 8. Extra base hit at 17. I mean, I know he's only a +1, but again, the defense doesn't matter as much as people think it does.
Who do you lead off? Who's the leadoff hitter here, if this were your team?
Honestly, I'm probably going Yandy.
Interesting.
10 with only a 3 out.
A lot of walks.
3 out.
Right.
Lot. Yeah, but he gets on base. So to me,
no. I'm with you. Like, I think that's the reason for me to do it. I think at that point it would be Yandy, Cruz, Ty, and then down to Dozier. Or no, sorry. To Dozier. That would be it. Like, that's his first 4. And then after that point, it's like steep decline. And it's basically his team, like, he's going to shut down pitching. I'm not worried at all about below the starting and the relief and the bullpen staff. Can he score with those first 4 guys, or can he score with a guy? Is there another Mike Bordick in here? Is Garcia, or, is Asdrubal Cabrera somehow going to become Mike Bordick again? I don't know. Like,
the Garcia card's good too. I think that's a very underrated. And I took Laureano instead, but he was on my board. I mean, for 160 +3 defense, he's a speed B, and he's only out on a 3. So when he does get advantage, he's going to get on every time. Yeah, I think that's a great card.
Yeah, I like his value picks, and he put the value he saved into his pitching staff. It's just going to be a question of, does this can his bats show up, and and do the dice go his way? So I feel, man, this is because I feel like head to head, it's going to depend on the dice. But I feel like, and I know it's an easy answer, but I feel like this team is also kind of in the B range, B - B.
I was actually going to give it a B+.
You were going to go B+?
I was going to go B+, kind of A- actually, because I like the pitching so much. His bullpen's loaded. I mean, he has a lead. I mean, he can throw Devin Williams, Scott, Kranichak, or Hader. I mean, it's all shutdown guys.
It is. And I think that's interesting. I probably lean solid B, I mean, I think if I think about now, just like taking a step back in this team and looking at the whole league, or this whole division, I feel confidently that it's going to be 100 Thieves, probably top. And then based on I kind of think Kevin could potentially, I don't know, I think you sneak into that second spot, maybe wild card, maybe not. And then I think probably Judgment Day, and then Raleigh Fingers 4. But
I think that this is the toughest division. I'm just going to be completely, I think it's the most loaded division. I think there's only going to be one playoff team that comes out of here, because I think we're just going to beat each other up.
Oh, for sure. And I don't think I'll match well against any of these. I think if I don't match well against any of these teams.
I mean, I know his on base is low, but I mean, his starters make up for it. I mean, he's going to win a lot of games, 4-2. I mean, because you're gonna score runs. You're gonna figure out a way how to get a couple runs across the plate,
right?
Even with those bottom guys. I mean, Javi gets on base, he's on second, and I mean, it's just crazy like that.
Once happened, right? And think of my team. My team is a bunch of control 2 and 3s. Like Javi can get the mistake pitch, that can happen, and then all of a sudden, 2/3 or 1/3 of the pitch or the rolls on that 24-sided die are home runs. So. I actually look at it. If his starting pitching is as good as the points he spent on them, he probably overpaid on the relief staff, which is interesting. He probably didn't need, Karinchak, or didn't need Hader.
I was just thinking the same. I think he could probably have done without. I mean, and he took Hader in the 6th round. I mean, very early. He got Tanner. It was amazing for how many good pitchers were left. That, I mean, me personally, I took Hoyt early, and he took Scott in the 18th round. It's the same pitcher, 6'16", and I think we talked about it before the draft. We were surprised at how slow some of those tier 1 relievers went.
Oh yeah, dude. You and I talked about how I almost picked one of the tier 0 relievers with my 13th overall pick, because I thought that the reliever exodus of picks was going to happen early. And I could not freaking believe when not only did it not happen, but it just like I picked up 2 of the tier 0 guys because they were still around at the picks. I couldn't believe they were there. So yeah. So in this, Devin Williams on this team, I have the other tier 0 guys, which I couldn't believe. And like, yeah, I think like and that's interesting looking at the draft order that Tanner, that was his 18th round, his 18th pick. Is Drupal or Garcia was his 14th. We both agree we like that pick, but I think it's interesting that his Drupal was 15th and then Nelson Cruz was 16th. I have to believe he could have used that money he spent on Tanner Scott to upgrade potentially both of those positions. To really like, as Drupal cannot have been the best, what is he playing first? The best first baseman available there. So
I think he could have gotten somebody better there, or even in the outfield, think about what 180 points would have done to Mazzara.
Yep, dude. And like all that said, I feel like we're saying mostly, or I'm saying mostly negative things. All of these teams, including the T800s, are all great. I mean, again, we're all working within the same confines.
I would put Kevin and myself as the underdogs, and I think that the Thieves and the T800s are the 2 favorites. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, I think it's going to be. I feel the 100 Thieves I like is number 1. It's going to be, but you guys are all, like you said, going to beat the hell out of each other, and that could change quickly.
That's the way I look. I think that, just the way that I think their rosters look a lot better than Kevin and mine on paper, but Kevin and I just try to find a way to win, and with who's on the field, and you figure out ways how to. It's like what Billy Bean said in that in the movie Moneyball. You get guys who get on base and just see what happens.
Yep. And then you don't pay them very much, and hopefully they're towards the end of their career, right?
I mean, I know I'm not paying my guys much. I don't know.
Right. You're pocketing like 1,000 of those points, and then just like actually paying them 4,000. Anyway, no, this is a fun division. I like almost kind of like, I think I'm going to end up hovering on a lot of these games, to be honest. And so I'm excited for that. But yeah, man. So like, for everybody listening, hopefully you're sticking around. We just quickly went to an hour. We were like, let's keep it quick. It's a reoccurring theme with me that like, we just keep going, and clearly could talk Showdown all the time. But yeah, Greg, it was great having you on, dude. Your insight is fantastic. Like, we've all talked about how much of a blast it is to play. And I think you and I've played the most Showdown games probably ever, but definitely in 2020 against you. So we definitely know each other's tendencies probably more than anybody in the Showdown world. But yeah, man, it was great to have you on here.
Appreciate you having me. Good luck to everybody.
Heck yeah. For everybody listening, we will drop some, I'll have some videos at the end that for the previous division, look on the channel. There's a whole playlist with kind of the narrative of this league, if you're keeping track. But we'll drop, as always, I'll drop my Twitter in the bottom. I don't think Greg has a Twitter, but you can always probably leave a comment. I can figure out a way to get a question to him here. So and I'll leave my Twitter in there. We talk. Greg's in the Discord. We talk in Discord often. If you're not in there already, I know I've brought this up so much, but I'll put the invite below in there. So thanks everybody, and we'll see you next time.